Welcome back to this week's edition of Modern Tech and Transformation. I am here again with Vinod Muthuswamy, CEO of Resolve Tech Solutions. If you did not tune in to episode 7, please do. You'll get an introduction to Vinod and hear about his 2024 tech predictions. But we're doing something a little bit different this week. If you're not watching and you're only listening, you might want to switch over to our YouTube podcast channel. We have a bowl in front of us of 5 different industries, and Vinod is very much a visionary. So we are going to pick different industries out of the bowl. Vinod is going to talk about some use cases and ideate on how AI can be used in this industry. So are you ready, Vinod?
It's super exciting.
All right. So first one is
Beautiful.
Retail,
Oh,
the
wow.
retail industry.
Retail, has several use cases. I look at Amazon being sort of the poster child of
Okay.
what retail could be done online. But not just retail online itself, right? We have a massive infrastructure of brick and mortar retail. So how do we leverage AI in brick and mortar retail? When you think about e-commerce and online retail, Amazon has done this for years in terms of using predictive models to predict, which user comes online and what kind of products they're going to choose, and then potentially replenishing, all their warehouses with the right type of products, ahead of time before they purchase. Amazon even said they will even ship a product before you think you're going to order it, right?
Okay.
Right. So those were things that they were already working on, several years ago, and even their pricing model, their dynamic pricing model, is all driven by AI, and it uses massive amounts of data coming from different sources. The same thing when you come into brick and mortar retail, like a Walmart, or when you look at 7-Eleven or any of the other retailers, there's massive opportunity there, and the massive opportunity lies in dynamically understanding how users are interacting within the store. Historically, shelf placement of products were dependent upon studies done and research done on watching user movement, and then research companies would come back and tell the retailers, hey, this is how you need to place the products, and then they would actually go and design the shelves and the journey of a user based on the research data that came, right? But changing that takes a lot of time. With computer vision, you can use existing camera data coming out of retail environments. You can process that computer vision, the video data at the edge in the retail store. So you don't even have to push all that video data into the cloud, right? So you can make decisions where you can easily track where users are moving around, and then potentially have a way to tie a user to a specific sale. Right? That becomes very unique. You go and you start looking and you start tagging a user that this user is picking these products, and then now you're able to generate. So now you have dynamic information about how different users behaved.
Yeah.
And now you can clearly align decisions, and you can regionalize, you can localize shelf placements to enable sort of a better output, from a sales perspective. It also enables, better management of inventory in the store, where you can now start predicting, what should be at store location, what should be in the regional distribution center, and it's there's more upstream and downstream effect of this. So. Tons of use cases in retail. I mean, this is on the retail storefront.
Okay.
There's other use cases that you could at the enterprise level that they clearly are models in AI that they could leverage even in just predicting overall sales and other things, which are pretty common across most enterprises. But retail is a very exciting. Every time there's challenges in implementing some of these things, it becomes more exciting.
Yeah.
Right, because now you have to cross some of those hurdles and leverage technology in the right fashion to enable the business to be successful. And those are some of the use cases I would say in retail specifically.
Yeah, retail. I think some of the places I shop know me better than I know myself at this point, so, which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. All right, next industry. Insurance.
Oh, this is another
Insurance.
one. Yeah. Insurance industry, has, as you know, it's a massive industry,
Yes.
and there are different aspects of insurance. Insurance is also an industry that's governed by a lot of regulation, and it's important that, and there's also the aspect of how decisions are being made in the insurance industry itself, whether it's underwriting decisions and risk decisions. So one of the use cases, which is a very sort of low-hanging proof of concept use case that you could apply is in any type of insurance, whether it's auto insurance, property insurance, or specialty lending, insurance. You could have this concept of an auto underwriter, right? And the auto underwriter is basically you're leveraging AI to make all the decisions, underwriting decisions in a fashion where you really don't, need to have human intervention in that process. You almost can get to 90% level of risk prediction with the auto underwriting process, and then you could continuously use human in the loop to train and make that prediction, closer to greater than 90 to 95%. And at that point, what it allows insurance companies to do is scale their operations.
Yes.
They can literally triple their operations with the same footprint of, existing cost structure, right? Which is great because then what does that do? It allows more users to get better quotes quickly. It also helps competition. Ultimately, the user gets a benefit of it because there's more competition, price reduction, right? So there is a benefit out of this process for ultimately the consumers are the ones that are going to win in this process, right? So I think that's one of the typical use cases that I tend to see, sort of in the starting, in early stages of insurance industry itself. Yeah.
Very good.
More auto underwriters,
Yeah.
models that are going to be sort of underwriting your insurances.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So 2 for 2. Let's see if we can stump him. I don't think we're going to be able to, but next one, energy. So we can do utility, oil and gas, anything renewable. Energy is pretty broad, so
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it up to you.
Energy is pretty broad. I can try to cover a couple of topics, which is we'll touch upon utilities, right?
Okay.
Let's touch upon utilities, then I'll go a little bit into oil and gas. In utilities, there's quite a bit of opportunity here, and the reason why I say that is historically, utility as as a vertical segment itself has been through the journey when you look at Industry 4.0 trying to convert into smart utilities, right? Which is where utilities are directly interacting with whether it's residential or commercial buildings, in whether it's generating power, and so that they could work with the consumers directly in managing the consumption of the power, right? And that has gone through phases of evolution where you have the AMI infrastructure that was put in place. There's also potential need for energy storage in certain markets. A lot of that infrastructure has been being built over the years. What hasn't happened is the transformation of the operational value chain in the utilities itself, where areas within the utilities operational value chain, you could introduce AI/ML to accelerate the business process itself. One could be is predicting potential loads in the grid, predicting loads across the grid, and also predicting loads dynamically across different segments of residential and commercial properties, so that you can use parameters such as weather conditions and others, and make decisions dynamically to adjust the grid to adapt to that, right? So the more you can predict ahead of time, and the more prepared you are in terms of serving those needs, the better customer experience you're going to deliver. When it comes to operations itself, in terms of line inspectors, line managers, technicians. There's tons of opportunities to, we talked about, field service, right? Intelligent field operations. That's a great use case for utilities, right? If today they have technicians going out and fixing meters, reading meters, doing whatever they're doing, embedding AI and an agent mobile app, which can enable them to leverage that to resolve issues in a quicker fashion, is going to be a huge productivity gain for utilities, especially when they have tens of thousands of technicians, dispersed regionally across, across their customer base. So there's those opportunities there. And then when you come into oil and gas, again, industry which is very, you're either in the oil and gas industry or you're not, right? You have the knowledge of what they do, and there are so many different aspects of the, in terms of upstream, downstream, and midstream, right? So there's so many different business models that exist across that entire value chain within the oil and gas industry, and each one of them are ripe for leveraging technology. Everywhere that they need to use some sort of data to make decisions, you have an opportunity. One is to figure out how to generate data, whether it's from the physical world or from the operational technology. So that's one aspect. Once that data is generated, it becomes ripe for leveraging AI to make decisions. So every industry, for that matter, I see, if you're generating data, AI is applicable.
All right.
Right? So that's how I see it. If you're using your brains to make decisions on data, AI can make that decision for you, and you train the models to make that decision.
Well, you're not in the clear yet just by saying data means AI. So we have two more slips of paper in here. Telecommunications.
Telecommunications, yeah, this is a great, it's near and dear to me. I've worked, in adjacent industries in the tied to the telecommunications industry. The telecommunication industry has gone through a lot of shift, right? We've gone through, traditional wired infrastructure going away into wireless infrastructure from a communication perspective, and also build out of fiber infrastructure for massive amounts of data communication across all the way to the to your door, right? Fiber to the door is pretty common today. But most of the telecom industry operations still sits with some legacy systems, where there are OSS systems that run the operational, that run operations for telecommunication companies, and then you have the BSS systems that run all the business aspects. When it comes to the OSS systems, and those are custom-built applications, which are predominantly used across different operations. They automated testing of their infrastructure existed years ago. So if a customer calls in and says, I have a problem with my internet, technically a carrier could basically run a test in an automated fashion, even without engaging an agent into the process. But that only covers a certain percentage of the calls that come in. There's a massive amount of efficiencies you can gain by leveraging AI through the support operations within telecommunications, right? So that is one aspect where AI could be used in just better agent assist customer service and driving the right adoption of and delivering a better experience to end users when they call in. Even field services, when you dispatch a technician to go fix an issue, leveraging generative AI, to assist the field technician in terms of identifying the root cause of the issue and summarizing the steps of what needs to be done at the customer side is a great use case. Then when you get into the wireless infrastructure, majority of the wireless infrastructure today is running in massive cloud-native data centers, right? We're using containers. Historical wireless operations had massive amounts of infrastructure built to monitor those environments, knock operations, looking at it, and then trying to fix those issues, because there were big iron boxes that were built out to support millions of subscribers. Today, it's all servers and containers. So you can use and run your wireless operations like a Google would run its data centers, right? 2 people managing 10,000 servers, right? That's possible with observability, anomaly detection, and automation combined, what they call as site reliability engineering. So there you're using AI to, rather than having, hundreds of people sit and watch for alerts coming in across the infrastructure and trying to fix it, you build it where, software can make decisions, and you use AI to look at data coming in from the infrastructure, make decisions on it, and leverage automation to fix those issues. That's one of the things that we've done with CloudSense AI.
Yes.
As part of our Juno portfolio. We want to bring that capability to the enterprise, especially environments like managing SAP environments in the cloud or other applications. That applies to telecommunications as well, in the back end. So I think those are two good
All right.
use cases.
So we have one left, and I mean, you have lots of ideas, as I said, visionary. So last one, healthcare.
Oh wow, this is great.
Yes.
Healthcare is very important because using AI in healthcare has a potential of everything from accelerating the process of how a doctor could diagnose a problem to potentially curing cancer, right?
Yeah.
With research and the massive amounts of data that it could process, in that overall process itself. Some of the low-hanging use cases are, I think, historically, medical transcription business, which exists, even today, where doctors go in and make diagnosis on readings and make recommendations, and it gets transcribed into a script, and it's done by a company. All of that could be done through an agent assist AI, that summarizes as the doctor is speaking and applies context to words and learns over a period of time whether it's making the right summarization of what the doctor is prescribing, right? That's sort of part of the overall operational, and it's real time. Historically, it used to be that once the doctor records it, it would take 24 to 48 hours for it to actually come in, come in as a script. Now that could happen real time, and there could be other forms of data that could be fed into that process, which are just low-hanging use cases of generative AI and other AI models. The other aspect is how do you leverage models to predict that a potential patient is at risk based on the data that you're collecting from that patient, whether it's you're collecting daily readings or you're collecting monthly readings. How do you predict that that patient is progressing towards a condition of high risk?
Okay.
And if you see that the point is not to take care of them when they're already high risk. The point is to prevent them in becoming high risk.
Yes.
Right? So they have a better lifestyle that they can, once they get into high risk, there's different types of treatments that they have to go through. Now we've already lost that time. So I think anything that you could leverage to, consume that data and make predictions would be, enabling those patients to, take some early on medications or procedures that could help them, move into more of a medium risk or a low risk category, right? And then the last one is, I think we touched upon this, is specifically designed models to look at data and process massive amounts of data or medical research tied to curing some of these specific conditions, whether it's cancer or others. There's always a use case for that, and there's always an application for that.
Very good.
Yeah.
So 5 out of 5. I want to encourage our listeners and viewers, if there's an industry we didn't touch on that you want to hear about today, Vinod, I'm going to ask if you'll come back on.
Sure, absolutely. We'd love to come back on. This is super exciting.
Yes.
It was fun. I really enjoyed the this random industry picking session, and would love to talk about this. I enjoy talking about use cases across industries. So.
Okay, great. Well, if there's an industry that you work in or that you didn't hear about, email marketing@resolvetech.com. Put in the subject line AI use cases with Vinod. And once we compile enough, we will have Vinod back on and we'll see if there's any industries he can't help you ideate a use case. I'm just going to use that as a plug for junolabs.ai. That is our innovation lab where we work with businesses to ideate on different AI use cases and proof of concepts and get them to the modeling phase utilizing Gen AI. So that's all we have for you today. This was a little bit different of an episode, but a lot of fun. Thank you, Vinod, for being with us again, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you, Carla. This was super fun. Thank you.
Good, thanks.